When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode.
One of my business partners, Steve Carfonta, he has a company called Greenlight. We just teamed up. So we opened up shop in Mexico City, Cancun, and Cabo. We're full security license, secure transport, vehicles. And the biggest thing is for us, for a lot of corporations, that there's one U.S. personnel on the ground that supports all the local things. But in order for me to do that, he's the yin to my yang. He writes the RFPs, the SOWs, he submits billing, he applied for all the paper. What is my role? I go out, sell business, get clients, manage operations, and make sure things don't get in. And then he's the back end on the front end. So, just find the yin to your yang if you're looking to build a business, because a lot of corporations get frustrated with a lot of security providers because they don't have their shit together on the back end, because they're like, hey, your invoice is wrong, or you're subbing to a sub to the sub, and that's not part of our service agreement. So it's just knowing your boundaries. And sometimes it's okay to say no. Like, I've been presented with some pretty big stuff, and I'm like, dude, there's no way from an operational standpoint, an onboarding standpoint, and a financial standpoint that I could take over this detail. Would it make me $3 million a year? Yeah, but their bill out is like 90 to 120 days. So can I take out a loan for $3 million? No. Can I get an investor? He's going to take his cut. So then your bottom line margins are short. So I just had to say no. But what I'll do is, for someone who has that capability, I go, let me do an introduction. I do the introduction to that person. When I do the introduction, I go, I'm going to introduce you to a client that needs direct services that you can provide, but I'm going to send my service agreement to you for a percentage of this once it's paid. And it's just a one-time service fee. That's all it is, right? Some people will go, hey, I want an ongoing percentage, the length of the detail. So I'm just trying to say, hey, I brought someone to you. Here's my finder fee. Take care of it. If you need sustainment training or any other additional services, I'm here to support you on it. But yeah, there's contracts out there that there's no way a boutique firm could take it. But with that being said, a boutique firm like you, what we call picking up the scraps, those scraps fucking add up, man. They add up. There's two guys I know right now that picked up scraps during the transition with AS and AUS, and then they got on with like companies like Pinkerton. They're doing $9 million a year.
That's pretty good money,
dude. So, but they went from zero to fucking hero really fast. You're going to have to amp up and ramp up that capital. But,
if you're a new company, you're getting in the game and you want that direct client. Well, sometimes you have to prove yourself and build your name and brand. Like, love them or hate them. Pinkerton was my first employer in the EP industry, thanks to, back then it was Robert Dodge. He was the vice president back then. And he hired me for my first job back when there was, I think it was MapQuest and the BlackBerry phone. That was all we had. And I moved down from Oregon to take the job, and it showed on the map, it was like 30 miles. I'm like, 30 miles. I get in traffic on the 91 going from Orange County to Riverside. It took me 2 hours to get to work.
No.
I had no idea. But that was my first job. And, Pinkerton it was a great experience. And with that said, you have to start somewhere. You just don't start opening up a shop, call yourself XYZ security company, and expect the clients to come running to your shop because you're retired, whatever you are. You have to prove yourself worthy of their business. You have to establish those trust relationships. This is a relationship business.
And that's where you get it at IPSB. Shameless plug, regardless if they are mad at me or not. But
I doubt they're mad at you.
But yeah, that's the importance of going to these conferences. Where I got my start is I was a training junkie, right? I went to, out of the 550 courses over the years that I've either instructed, created, or managed, I still probably have 80 under my belt. Any additional spending, I didn't go on vacation. I went to training because I wanted to see what was out there, how it was being presented, what was being taught. And, all the people that I met through those years have come full circle over that time. So some of my first training back in 2016, I'm running into those guys in the Bay Area that are running programs in 2019, 2020. And I'm like, dude, is that you? He's like, holy smokes. We met at that course in 2006.
Wow.
And it's full circle. Dude, there's
crazy.
So when you train, you network, you meet individuals. Those individuals may be on teams. They may be trying to start out like you, but down the road, there'll be guys that you may be contracted out. You may be getting hired from. So that's one thing about this industry. It's a dramatic pendulum shift. There's guys
shifts fast, quickly.
Yeah.
It moves.
Guys that I met at the conference in 2006, when I went to AS, they were my bosses.
Wow. It's wild. And I get a lot of slack from people who say, I don't want to go to that school. I don't want to go to that 3-day course. But, here's my advice. If you're a military guy, girl, guy, gal, whatever, and you have a military background or law enforcement background, you just want to get a basic course, a baseline, as Aaron calls it. You go to his course there in Vegas, attend that, get around some people, just get a baseline education for 3 days, a couple thousand out of your pocket, and what it
my
allows.
course is one day, it's like $200.
That's cheap.
But
you can't beat that.
And then we're doing a networking event at the bar afterwards. But training is networking. Going to IPSB, that's where relationships are built. When you go there, you have CSOs, directors, team leads, detail leads, guys that own companies. Hey, what are you doing? Well, I'm here now. Well, I go, well, shit, I was just working out of there and the company I used was trash. I wish I would have known that you're there, but now moving forward, give me your card, send you a service agreement. But this industry is big, but yet it's
very small.
This big.
Everybody knows each other.
You're right. And it's like the IPSB is more or less like a reunion.
Family reunion. That's a good explanation of it.
Yeah. And you just, have drinks, let your hair down. We're not sitting at a corporate, campus presenting, everyone gets a couple of drinks in them to get loose. And it's a good thing, but two things, networking for you guys, LinkedIn. I've probably posted over 200 plus jobs this year that are on LinkedIn. There's headhunters and recruiters actively recruiting based off of all the information on your profile, because people like us on the business side will buy the premier package that I can search, and I'm not connected with you, source people in certain areas that I can go after. If you're on LinkedIn, send me a connect. I think I'm at like 22,000 followers. I just want to make a difference in the industry. I want to change the stigma that's there because everyone's too scared, or they're like, oh, well, it's always done this way. No, we got to fucking shake it up. We got to rattle it and figure out how we progress, because honestly, everyone, guys like me and Mark or even me, we have a shelf life. And that shelf life,
right?
We started that bottom shelf, RSP, EVP, project manager, program manager, right? Then we come up here where we own our own companies or manage, because, the op tempo for the last 5 years, I'm done 6 months out of the year.
Wow.
Now, is it 6 months, the last 5 years? And that's not in counting. I lost count. And with that being said, count. When we talk about KPIs, you should track what details, cities, countries, timelines you do. I'm really good about that. I know last year, or an average of AS solution, I was 170 days out of the year gone. But, I'm getting burnt on travel. I've been around the world a couple of times. I'm grateful. The experiences, it's always good. I sometimes get traveler's PTSD where I'm home and I'm like, I need to go somewhere. But, I need to focus on family, my house, that's a key thing. So I need to bring up practitioners and new bodies to start filling these roles, and get them trained properly and with a good understanding in the educational aspect of how to step on a detail and function. That is the biggest thing. You can go to an EP school, but you may not be able to fucking function on the detail. And how do we teach that? What is the educational point? You got to start mentoring and bringing dudes up. And that's what I think where the industry is fucked up, which I said at IPSB, is you got people that are just like embedded like a fucking Alabama tick.
Alabama tick. That's a good one.
Yeah. In this position, and everyone else below them has no growth. If I was in a mid-level position, I'm like, who am I going to, if I get hit by a fucking truck tomorrow, who's going to take my place? Who's going to take leadership? Who do we see the potential in? Right. And that person above him, the CSO, should be thinking the same thing.
Right.
Who do I need to mentor? Because I'm coming up to retirement, and it's good when you guys work for corporations as an FTE, you get stock options, you get amazing healthcare packages, you get really good. So it's easy to become very complacent and to delegate those duties. But, like we say, like a rising tide lifts all ships. And doesn't matter if you're in residential, EP, HVA, you always have to look for that next person to take the lead.
Yeah, I want to go backtrack a little bit because you said some important things just now. If you're in the audience, I'd be get a pen and paper and write everything down that Aaron's mentioning on here. He's giving you a lot of wealth of knowledge that would be in an EP course. First thing, 1099. I'm fighting many 1099s throughout the country.
California's fucked.
Yeah, they're screwed. But throughout the country, people I sub with, you need to carry workman comp insurance. 90% of the people I talk to don't carry it.
What is that? I think, was it like 10 grand a year or something like that?
I think my policy, I have general liability and it's $2 million. That's like a couple thousand a year.
Okay. It's not bad. So, because I know before I had Lloyd's of London, it was like 10 grand a year and everyone's like freaking out. I'm like, you have to have it.
You have to have it. If someone gets hurt, folks, on a job working for you and you're not carrying workman comp, guess what the medical bills are going to do? Follow the money trail. And the money trail is going to be you, the 1099 contractor. And if you don't have workman comp, guess who pays the bill? Your house. Or you get sued by the patient, which is your guard.
Or and you get in a trust.
In a trust. I
got everything in a trust.
But you got to think about this, folks. You got to quit thinking like bodyguards out there and think like if you want to be a 1099 LLC Security Inc., you need to carry workman comp insurance. You got to carry general liability. You have to protect your assets. If you don't, I know, I'm not going to say names. I know two different companies in California, they got sued over this little issue and put them out of business.
So when we talk about 1099, just so you guys know, that's an independent.
I'm talking about outside of California.
Yeah, outside, like independent contractors, companies. But
yeah,
if you're a protector, not a security guy, if you're a protector, you're a fucking businessman. In a sense, I wrote an article on LinkedIn called The Renaissance Man. There's an article that Jared Van Dries wrote called The Chameleon, right? Because think about this. You just got out of the military or you just attended a 9-day or 28-day school. You invested all this money, right? You get hired. Next thing you know, you're on a private jet flying from the US to India with the 10th richest man in the world. Okay. If he turns and decides he wants to just wipe out and have a normal conversation with you, are you going to be able to hold a conversation, articulate, that conversation? Because if not, he's going to go, why the fuck is this guy on my plane? Right. Mm-hmm. So that's why we say never get on the jet, leave that the private jet, leave that to someone else. Because the two things, you can't take a number two. You're never supposed to take a number two, regardless of the size of the aircraft. And also too, it encapsulates you with the principal, the EA, all the people. So that's once again, when we talk about those EP optics. So when I go, I'm like, hey man, I'll punch out a day ahead and receive you guys in the next city. A lot of guys are all excited, like, oh, we're flying private, but
They don't know the reality of it all.
Yeah. So I say, hey, and this is a tip. If you do get stuck on the private plane, right, you let everyone get on. They'll sit where they're sit because you're going to be the last one. Because what are you going to do before you get on that private plane? Here's another instructional tip. You're going to fucking open every door of that car, all the trunks. You're going to do an entire sweep to make sure nothing was left in that vehicle. Then you're going to go over, if you're a solo practitioner or team, then you're going to go do a luggage reconciliation count of all the luggage that left the hotel, that got boarded on the car, and got boarded on the jet. And then by the time you're done with that, everyone should be seated in their desired spots on that plane. Then you come in and you got the last spot. Now, there's pros and cons of this. One, you know where you need to sit. You're not going to sit in someone's seats. But the bad part is, most likely, like on the G6 Globals and stuff like that, there's a separate room in the back where we usually sit, out of sight, out of mind, right? But the problem is when you land, you got a fucking jockey to get to the front of the plane. So I usually talk to the flight attendant and go, hey, you know, when we land, we're taxiing, like I need to get up and get to the front door. Why? Because I got to walk out, make sure the vehicles are staged correctly, get doors open, quick driver's brief, and then start doing luggage reconciliation, getting all the bags in. So now I'm a few minutes ahead of getting all the baggage in while the principal and their team or their staff comes out, circles in the vehicle, and go. But that's why a lot of time you should have a lead in advance that always receives you to make sure the motorcade configuration is set up, the drivers are briefed, and that advance agent can start tackling the luggage as well to support you. So like I said, you can be a solo practitioner. You can be a solo practitioner with an advance. You can have a team. Most of the Bay Area, you know, when you're driving around, you may have one vehicle or two. I'm fortunate enough to work on a lot of details where we'll go, dude, I was rolling around in October with a 6-car motorcade package in Menlo Park. Something
crazy.
Yeah.
That's not normal though, folks. That's not really normal.
That's not.
Very abnormal. Usually it's one or two.
Yeah. And also 2 Sprinter vans. You know, that's a new thing coming up in the EP industry because luxury Sprinter vans, you know, the principal can just step in. It's more luxurious. Another thing too is Sprinter vans for luggage. You know, they're running town. You can just fucking pile everything in, because if you're piling the principal, their EAs or PAs, their assistants, the wife, the family, and everyone has luggage, even a Suburban with the 3rd row seat kicked up may not be enough, you know, especially when you deal with the Saudis or royal family. I mean,
good point.
They're rolling in deep with a lot of luggage. So once again, operational experience or knowing the questions to go, hey, how much luggage do they have? And they're like, oh, they're this. And like, hey, we have to expense a, Sprinter van for the arrival and the departure for the luggage, because there's no way that's going to fit. And when you're working in 3rd world countries, like I just got done managing a detail in India with my buddy Steve, and you can't find luxury cars there. You can't find Sprinter vans. So when we have families coming in, you can't just go to Enterprise and go, hey, I want a Volvo XC 70, or because they don't have Suburbans and stuff there. So now you have like a motorcade of, shitty cab cars with one halfway decent car.
Wow.
So it's knowing what you can get and where and when, depending on the country. Sorry.
Now, Aaron, can you go into detail on who you've been supporting, or is that kind of non-NDA?
Oh, no. It's fine. So I have with Catalyst, once I went public, obviously I have my aerospace client at NASA at Kennedy Space Center, and then I have 2 clients from India. One's in the, I'll just say that he's within the top 10.
Cool.
And then little contract stuff. So I'll have
little contracts. Okay.
So we'll have family going, hey, we're going to India. Well, I just spent 2 months in India on the space program, so I was working with. So
that was you're working with NASA. That's like a government thing for you?
No, it's a private contract. So it's
private contract. Got it. Okay.
Yes. So it's one of NASA's premier vendors based out of Kennedy Space Center.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'll do all their HVA. I help set up that program.
What opened the door for you to get that? Was that your time with AS Solutions opened that opportunity, or just you being a good networker?
That's funny that you say that, because it was a guy that attended our first residential security training course in 2008. And
wow.
I didn't hear from him for years. And he calls me and goes, "Hey, dude, I got on the space program. We're doing HVA. We're protecting components and engineers. We're doing all their overseas launches. So that's the Vostochnaya Cosmodrome in Russia. That's Baikonur, Kazakhstan. That's India. That's the European Space Agency out of French Guiana, because Russian rockets, the Soyuz medium, can handle the payload that we're putting up. And two, it's cheaper than using vendors like SpaceX.
No way.
Blue Origin's not there yet, but so I get to dabble in that industry.
So that was somebody that attended your residential course when you were AS Solutions.
Yeah, and he fucking
calls you out of the blue.
And that was right when AS got bought out by AUS and then transitioned, and I kind of seen the writing on the wall. And he's like, "Hey, dude." So I said yes, and next thing you know, I'm on a Antonov cargo plane going to Siberia for 4 months. I did 4 consecutive launches. I have 7 launches under my belt, all across the globe. So it's kind of cool. And I get to see and do some cool stuff. And with the HVA thing, like we talked about before, so our program, you can see it on my LinkedIn page. So it's not, but it's, I created the term Special Purpose Protection Team, which is SPPT, which is my acronym for securing people, places, and things. So that's where that kind of came from. But it came to a screeching halt because most of our launches were out of Kazakhstan and Vostochnaya, which is Siberia. So when the war broke out with Ukraine, there was a sanction with NASA. So I was getting ready to punch out to do 4 more launches out of Kazakhstan. And it was literally 4 days before I was going to leave. And the embassy fucking overnighted my visa or my passport with the denied on my visa. I get a call from the client, and I was counting on that. And this is why I say there's no security in the security industry, especially.
That's why you said that.
So I was like, son of a bitch. So I had Catalyst up because I was 1099 billing them out for that. So I just said, dude, I got to go full bore. I sat down, and I got to give a big shout out to Chris Story. He's been a huge support element for me, because he's one guy that's built programs, been in the industry, knows EP, the corporate sector, heavy in protective intelligence. And so I was just like, I need to get things going. So built the website, got the training courses up, went public, and thank God, the phone started ringing. And guys were like, "Hey, I need you to go do a residential assessment." And this is an example where I went out, did a residential assessment, and I just said, "Hey, how do you want this done?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, one thing about risk assessments, if there's no security director or no one in above, and it's just a new program, no one's going to fucking read it.
True. Good point. Who's going to read it?
So the guy who gets the contract, who's paying me, is going to get it. So I go, "Hey, I can write this up and give it to you, but you did the walkthrough, so you know what needs to get done." He goes, "Yes." So I go, "Do you want me just to sell your package?" He goes, "Yes." I go, "What are your packages?" So my 22-page risk assessment turned into 3 pages. Cover page, basically a page of option A, B, and C on levels of security, and then a contact page. So I sat down, I go, "Sir, we've done a complete assessment on your property. These are the 3 options. Option C is at a minimal, but it was actually for an upcoming rapper." So I was just like,
"Wow,
you're not a thug. You're not a rapper anymore. You're a CEO."
Interesting.
So if you want to focus, because just so you know, in the last 34 years, there's been 80 rappers killed. Not like car accidents, like fucking shot and murdered. Killed.
Wow, I did not know that.
So with that being said, I'm just like, and this individual has got into it before. So I just said, you want to focus on your family safety, building your business and being a CEO, option A or B. And he goes, Aaron, I'll take option A. So I sold a multi-million-dollar program within 5 fucking minutes, handed over the risk assessment to the contract security company. And the funny thing is this rapper has probably a better, I would say, yes, he has a better residential team than 90% of Fortune 100 CEOs.
Whoa, that's impressive.
And that's
is that based on your assessment and
advice? But he was open. It's not a dude sitting in a car in front, which is known. We utilized a building. We put $130,000 in cameras. We have a command post. We have a rifle rack because the state. We have a rifle rack with rifles. We have vehicle med bags, residential med bags. With the program, we were able to rent a team house down the street from the property. So now I don't have to source local guys. I can have dudes come in and rotate. We got 2 dudes per shift, right? 24 hours a day. We have standby agents. So when he goes, I need to go to the studio, my kids need to go to school, they want to go to the grocery store, they want to go play. We have armored vehicles. We have, we rotate drivers, EP guys. Like it is literally residential's dream for security. And he's a rapper, right?
Crazy.
So, yeah. So it's, it's one of those things. And then after that, I get calls. Hey, we need to do this. We need to do that. So I'll go out to a residence and they're like, well, we just don't want that. We just, we would just feel better if we just have an agent sitting in the car in front of the property. And I go, well, I can refer services, but that's not what we do. And they're like, you're telling me no? And I go, yes. Because I go, you can't do your job, in which I hate the 12-hour shift. I know that's a California thing, but sitting in a car for fucking 12 hours, you're not vigilant. You're
Good point.
You're not patrolling the property. True residential, program. Here's another $100,000 fucking free idea for you guys, for you company owners. Dude, set up a GSOC. If you have a security company, set up a GSOC office. So if guys like me that turn down putting an agent in front of the car, go, hey, let's get a camera system in, right? We can have access to the camera systems at Leadlow's fucking HQ. And then now you get 3 or 4 of those accounts and you have 1 or 2 guys per shift monitoring cameras from multiple residential teams. And then if they need something, they can respond, they can call law enforcement. So you got actual eyes on. And that's a big thing. Like when I see a camera, I go, okay, there's a camera. Is there someone behind it? Is someone behind that camera have a radio that I can contact? Do they have a list of who to call for emergency procedures? If there's no one behind the camera, who reviews it, and also how long is that data stored? Because back in the day, like if you wanted super high-end quality, it only could be like held for like a week or whatever. But now technology, which the guy that I'm using sets up, or that we used, is like super high-end. And right now, like if someone even just said, hey, Aaron, we want this $130,000 camera system, I might go, you might have to wait 6 months because the shit's not available. There's
supply chain shortages and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, that's it on the residential side. Setting up details are different, but like I said, sometimes it's okay to say no. If you do say no,
here's a question, Aaron. Do you think the residential EP agents teams are going away?
No, I think it's going to get bigger. Just because the state, like if you look at California, so 2 of my clients that live in, Bel Air, dude, these guys are kicking in their doors at 6 p.m. while they're having dinner in strong arm robbery. Dude,
crazy. I know.
Beverly Rodeo Drive. I went to go advance a restaurant and like, oh, we're closed. What happened? A group of individuals rolled up, robbed everyone at gunpoint in the restaurant. You see it on the news. Some dude got fed up, tackled the guy. The gun went off and shot one of the waitresses. So they're crazy. Hit snatcher grabs because The police are not responding. I did a residential assessment for a private school, and they're like, we've called the police department and they won't show up. And it's at a school with like a naked dude, because they're like, it's not a party. So I'm talking with I go, when I do the assessment, I talk with, I try to do an introduction with the captain of that station. And they're just like, dude, we don't have the manpower. And that's why if you look at Beverly Hills and Rodeo, they've subcontracted a security company to provide a show of force on Rodeo, which these guys look professional. They're really good. But with that being said, I'm, with one of the richest people in the world, and they have to wait in line on a red rope. I can't even get in to let them know who I have to get in, because they only can let so many people in per sales associate, and they won't even open the door. So unless you could talk to a security guy that gets in, or make an appointment, that's Beverly Hills. You can't even, it's, people are like, oh, we're going to Beverly Hills. I'm like, no, it's kind of dangerous. Here's the local crime assessment of the area. And people are like, holy shit. They're keeping the doors locked until they're waiting to let the next person in,
What do you think is the future of, if you were to give us a forecast based on your experience and knowledge and the intel you're getting, what would you say 2023 is going to look like for America as far as the need for EP and the guard level security versus the EP's level? Are people high net worth families going to want to spend that kind of money? Because they're saying we're supposed to go in a recession. So naturally, first thing they cut is security. So what's your feedback on that?
Well, here's my feedback on this. They're not educated, because any corporation, and you could probably cut this. This would be a good cut for a promo, but any corporation, any corporation or family office or anyone, if you come in and do a third party assessment, someone like me, PricewaterhouseCooper, and they do it, your security detail is a tax write-off. And that's what people don't understand. So you're setting up a residential team, which I think it's going to be more and more, but people are vacating, right? Like they said that there was 180,000 people that left LA County last year.
180,000?
180,000.
Whoa.
If you go to Vegas right now, to the Ridges dude, there is a shortage on $6 to $10 million houses in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a great state because it doesn't have state tax, but also too, those areas right now, your association fees are $20,000 a month. But what do you got? You got the Raiders, you got the Golden Knights, you have all these other sports teams coming in. So now those association fees, what do? They pay for, you don't have to have a residential, because Bay Area, LA is old school, right? So you're going to have someone there. But like these newer communities, they have infrared laser grids around the property. So if someone jumps a fence, they know. They have, dual gate security. They have professional armed security on sites. They have patrols. They have someone monitoring camera systems. They have GPS on bicycles. So if their kids go off into Red Rock on a bike, they can track them. So modern communities may eliminate residential, but for security companies, they're going to elevate that guard force services.
So that's going to be a huge demand, guard services, like uniform type of thing.
Right now, like if I was to open a security company, I wouldn't do EP. I would do loss prevention. I would go to all these high-end malls that need a visual deterrent at the door to open and lock and do counts on these high-end stores, jewelry stores, makeup stores, that's a line of security. That's your bread and butter, because that's going 7 days a week.
7 days a week, right?
Then if you get a high-end estate, now you have 10 guys and vehicles and access controls and surveillance and cameras to protect these properties, because it's paid through you by their association based off of their HOA fee. So that's guaranteed money. Now, when you get that in and you get an EP contract where they want to travel across five states across the United States in multiple details, and you have to invoice in front $325,000, you have a baseline of guard services that that will help cover that invoice till you get paid. So, I mean,
you have to have ongoing accounts as a baseline for your bottom line budget to pay for that.
Yeah. Like guys are like, I want to start an EP company. No, you need to start a guard force company.
Guard force, right.
And that pays. So like there's one company right now that I know in the Bay Area, their first contract that was awarded for campus was $80 million. And that was for campus security, access control, their GSOC center, and amenities. Because people understand, like when you say campus, a corporation is a campus, right? Like you got a corporation, some corporations are a building, right? But when you have a bigger tech company, it's a campus, and that campus can have 35,000 employees on it. It could be 5,500 acres. It can span from, areas as they grow. So you're going to need access control, badging, someone to oversee badging, issue badging, visitors. Then let's say you have an EP team for the CEO. When they come in, they need executive support. They need people there to help arrivals, departures. Some have ERT teams, emergency response teams, for active shooter response that will, if God forbid there's something happens, they respond to that. The second batch will coordinate with local law enforcement and the GSOC to correct the camera to get them where they need to go. Like, don't think when you look at EP and RST, when they call it global security, that tech company may have offices here, London, India, wherever, and each one of those campuses has to have the same model. So sure. It's when you look at global security, a good one is like a sponge. The more water you pour into it, the bigger it's going to keep getting as they grow.
So it's not going away anytime soon.